You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hey folks, it's Voss here from the Chris Voss Show.com. We just want to see how long I can hold that. As always, the Chris Voss Show is a man who loves you, doesn't judge you, because you're here to learn stuff. You're here to grow. You're here to develop yourself. Make yourself life better, which makes you better than everyone else on the planet. Well, what kind of superiority complex are we creating here, Chris? I don't know. Anyway, guys, go to Goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss. Chris Voss won the TikTok and all those crazy places on the internet. Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind. Today's featured author comes to us from bookstolifemarketing.co.uk. With expert publishing to strategic marketing, they help authors reach their audience and maximize their book's success. Today, we have an amazing young man on the show with us today. His book is out May 6, 2024, called What Once Was Promised. Louis Trubiano is on the show with us today. We're going to talk to his insights, his experience, and all that good stuff. He spent over 40 years in the advertising industry, most of it as president of his own firm. Born and raised in Quincy, Massachusetts, he earned his bachelor's degree from the University of Rochester and master's degree from Boston University's College of Communication. He and his wife live in Canton, Massachusetts, and have 3 daughters, 6 grandchildren, and 1 spoiled dog, as everyone should have a spoiled dog. Welcome to the show, Louis. How are you?
I'm great. Since you called me a young man, that I've been called that in a long time.
Well, we, flattery will get us everywhere is our motto of the show. So, Louis, give us your .coms. How can people find you on the interwebs?
Well, my book is available on Amazon, as most books are, and the website is just louistrubiano.com. There's all the information about the book, all the reviews, and a list of the awards and things that I've been fortunate enough to win.
Well, congratulations, too, on the awards. So give us a 30,000 overview of what's inside your new book.
The book is historical fiction. It's around the turn of the last century, and it follows the lives over about 50-year span of 4 Italian immigrants who settled in the north end of Boston, and the different directions that they go and the obstacles that they face, and the interwoven with real people, real events of the time. And it's partly based on experience of my family, but most of it is obviously fictionalized to make it a little more interesting story.
Would it be safe to assume that you are also Italian with your last name?
Very much Italian. Very much Italian.
And so that gives you probably some resonance, some background to develop these characters, the plot lines, scenarios that they're in, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, yeah, that's why there's. I never took any writing courses and seminars or writing workshops and things. I was doing on my own. But someone once said, "Well, you write about what you know." Yeah. And I know Boston and I know Italians. And I'm kind of a history buff, so I had a leg up on what was going on in Boston at the time. And I said, "This is a great story." There's so much happened around the turn of the century in Boston in the first 20, 30 years of the 1900s. You had a police strike, you had a flu epidemic, you had a great molasses explosion.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot going on that kind of made an interesting backdrop for the book. And the Italians were in the middle of it.
Oh.
There was the north end of Boston became pretty much an Italian ghetto. At one point, it was almost 99% Italian, and they had 90,000 Italians living in 1 square mile, and kind of isolated a bit from the rest of Boston. So there were a lot of interesting things going on there.
I bet you could get some good spaghetti and lasagna there. Or
we're in the north end of Boston.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, with all those Italians, we don't want to play.
Have you ever been?
Huh?
Have you ever been to the North End of Boston, Chris?
No.
But, for crying out loud! I thought you'd been around. I thought you were a man of the world.
Kind of, just not Boston, or Boston, Massachusetts area. Yeah. That's my Ted Kennedy impression. Very bad. So tell us about the protagonist in the book. Is there a main character?
Yes, there is a main character, and his name is Dominic Bassini. Mm-hmm. And he's kind of the central character, although, and he's inspired by my own grandfather. I needed a starting point for the book, and I said, well, let's start with my own grandfather's experience. So the main character, Dominic Bassini, comes from the same town in Italy, the same year, comes over on the same boat that my grandfather did. He ends up working in the shipyard just as my grandfather did.
Wow.
He, more than any other character, kind of epitomizes the typical Italian experiences. Comes on the same ship with him. There's a young woman named Francesca, who's the wife of a who has mafia connections. And there's a young stowaway named Ernesto, who he befriends and actually helps smuggle him into Boston, and they become lifelong friends, along with another young Italian boy who already lives in Boston. And the story follows the divergent paths. Ernesto gets into a life of crime. Joseph, who's the young Italian boy that whose house they live at, gets into politics. Dominic just wants to go to work, have a family, work hard, assimilate. And Francesca ends up a very successful, wealthy woman in Boston. But along the way, there's a lot of twists and turns, conflicts, tragedy, some happiness. But it's kind of encapsulates the Italian immigrant experience in Boston, wrapped around the times. There's a lot going on. You know, it was an era of Irish dominance when the Irish went through it first, and then when the Italians got there, the Irish weren't going to relinquish any of the power that they had assimilated by in politics in particular, and policing. And it was a little difficult for the Italians of the North End to make progress for a while. And that conflict comes through. There's a Irish family that parallels Dominic's family, and one is a captain in the police force, and another one, over the course of the story, is a politician who ends up becoming mayor of Boston at some point. And that's the story. That's it.
Would you say is there any mob mafia in there? Or maybe the early 50s?
Well, yeah. I don't want to. Everybody said, well, you wrote another mafia book. No, that's part of it. It's part of it because it was part of the experience of the Italians, as was the anarchists. There were a lot of Italian anarchists at the time, and a lot of that was a result of being discriminated against when they got here, and they couldn't succeed within the system, so they went outside the system. And the anarchists tried to change it, and the organized crime was, well, we'll do this our way. We're going to. And Boston was late to the party, actually, on, as far as you call it, the mafia or whatever you want, organized crime. It wasn't until the 1919, around there, that it began to get organized around the first New England mafia chieftain, a fellow by the name of Gaspero Messina. And he's in the book. A lot of people in the book. I threw a lot of real characters into the book, and to make it more interesting and keep in touch with the real history of the time.
And, it's great that you have the lineage of your family to take and build on some of the probably stories, that you can encapsulate, maybe, maybe just scenarios and then rewritten them in a different format. But you have the experience of what many of your relatives went through as these generations passed, and, being new immigrants in this country. There was a great melting pot sort of era during that time where America was being turned into America, was being shaped.
Well, yeah, there's a little anecdotes in there from Sunday dinners and other things that are based on real things that happened to people in my family and other times, and where Dominic's son fights in World War II. He's in World War II, and his mother, while his son was fighting, as so many young Italians were fighting in World War II, the parents had to actually register as enemy aliens, because if they weren't citizens, they wanted to keep track of all the Italians. And my grandfather worked at a shipyard, and during the war, they were not allowed to speak Italian because they were afraid they might be talking, making secret plans or whatever it was. So despite, being in the country for years and being loyal citizens and things, that came to the surface and came back to remind everybody that, hey, you're still an immigrant in the eyes of Benny.
Yeah. So is this your first book? Have you written before? What was your journey through life, and when did you start writing and kind of find that this is your thing?
I started writing a long time ago, but unfortunately, Chris, real life got in the way.
Oh, yeah.
And I had a business, and I had kids, and I had a lot of interests and activities and things I was involved with. And I'd write in snippets and put it aside and maybe go a year or 2 or 3 and not do anything about it. But when I finally retired, sold the business and retired, I had the time, and I dusted it off and threw most of it out and started over. And it took a couple of years on and off. It was not easy for me. Wasn't a trained writer, and I wasn't very disciplined. And there always seemed to be better things to do than to go into my office dungeon and work on the book, particularly when there was nothing fresh in my mind to put down. So when I finished the book and wrote the end, I said, "That's it. I'm not doing this again." But because it's done so well and has got so many great reviews, I have started on another 2, actually. One you could more or less call a prequel, because it's going to deal with the Irish experience from around the time of the Civil War up into the 1890s, when the first Irish mayor of Boston, Irish-born mayor of Boston, was elected. And it kind of follows the Irish ascension to power in Boston. And this one is hard because I don't have the experience with the Irish experience that I did with the Italian experience. So the research is more intense, but hopefully it'll lead to a trip to Ireland to look at some of the places I talk about in the book. And I've also started another book, which is more of a thriller mystery type of thing. And the great thing is, I'm not a writer. I don't depend on writing to make a living. So I'm able to do this when I feel like doing it. And,
well, that's nice. Sometimes not having a gun to your head gives you the best sort of results. Sometimes having a gun to your head
keeps you from doing anything sometimes.
Yeah, that's true.
I stay outside. The hell with the book. I'm going golfing,
Well, as long as you always, what is that, hour a day writing? Some authors will do, and so it can make all the difference. But I think with the Irish book, I think all the research you have to do is you just have to put a lot of alcohol, vodka, and potatoes, and play Danny Boy a lot, like every other chapter or something. I love my Irish friends, by the way.
Oh God! I love the Irish too.
I think I have a little bit of a sinner lineage, so that may explain the vodka drinking. But
I've been called upon at parties with my Irish friends because I'm Italian, but I'm the only one who knows all the words to Danny Boy.
Yeah, so that's such a great song. Such a great song. That just makes that just completes the whole Irish genre, I think, or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So the thing is. I've been thrilled with the way the book's been received and the reviews that it's gotten. Mm-hmm. It's really been fun. It's really been fun to hear from people you don't know who read the book and via my website they send how much on it's one, and the people you do know, obviously a lot of people will I hear you wrote the book, go out and read the book. And I just came from a big family reunion this weekend, and half a dozen cousins that I didn't even know said, I read your book. And that's kind of cool, nice. Chris. I'm getting a kick out. I'm awesome. Enjoying the author thing. It's
there you go.
It's pretty nice. So
yeah. It's a lot of fun. You end up touching people's lives that you didn't realize. And, sometimes I'll walk up to you one day and they'll be like, hey, you changed my life. And you're like, really? And, I just wrote a book.
I don't know if I want that responsibility.
Yeah, but it's kind of funny, the impact, yeah.
It's great when you do I've done some book signings, and when people are there who have already read the book, and I talk about it, and they come up afterwards and they tell you how much it touched them, it made them cry, or why did this person have to die, or why did that happen? You can see how vested they are in it, and that's kind of rewarding, kind of cool to see. And it's got me, I'm going down to Nashville in a couple of weeks because there's a big writers conference and dinner down there for writers, and my book is a finalist for. Out of hundreds, it's a finalist for award in the historical fiction category. And so that'd be kind of cool to go down there. It's kind of like the Academy Award. You sit out there, wait to see if you want. And I always wanted to see Nashville. It's on my bucket list. I've never been there, and everybody says just how great it is. So, and I probably wouldn't have gotten around to doing it if I hadn't written the book and hadn't been invited to go to this event. So
it's really interesting how a book opens up the world to people. You do stuff for like 50 years and all your friends witness it and stuff. And then you write a book and talk about some of the insights you have. And people are like, oh my God, you're really smart. And you're like, where you were here the whole time. Like I'm smart now because I put in a book. Like you thought all my stories were stupid before.
There's truth in that.
There is. Yeah.
It's also because you've written a book, people expect you to be smart and eloquent, and I hate to disappoint them when they actually meet me. But
they put those commas and periods in the place for me, so that's how that. The editor was like, "Have you ever heard of a comma?" I'm like, "No." Anyway,
I never met a comma I didn't like.
That's true. Sometimes I use too many commas. Like sometimes I go overboard. I just comment the shit out of everything.
The first indication I had that this book was actually, I had very low expectations for getting it done and getting it independently published was my goal. Anything after that was scary. But the editor who edited the book, who has done a lot of books, indicate to me that I really had something here. And he said, congratulations, is quite an achievement. That was before he went through and just killed me on grammar and punctuation and that kind of stuff. But the story pretty much stayed intact. And
there you go. And, it can be hard in editing. They kind of take a giant dump on everything you've written, and you hand them 50,000 words, and they hand you back. Well, here's 5 pages. We threw away the rest. Now start over, book boy.
Yeah. And he changed a few things around, but the heart of the book kept intact. And then before it was published, they suggested we send it out and get some professional reviews. And one was Kirkus Reviews, and I got a great review, and it was a get it, read it recommendation, which only about 5-10% of their reviews are. And I said, wow. I was scared to death thinking, oh, we're getting a review from Kirkus, maybe they'll see through me, and that turned out great. So it's been a fun ride. It's convinced me to do another one. Now that might take me 10 years, but it's something to do in the winter when you can't go out and
golf,
bocce or.
Someone skip a few golf times and focus on that book. But it's just interesting. Sometimes an hour a day turns into sometimes a couple hours a day, and then off you go. And they got a book.
Sometimes, Chris, you sit down and you're on a roll, and you say, "This is great." Other times, I would sit down there. I just talk to the dog for an hour, and then give up. So it's a very weird thing. I'm glad I did. I'm glad I experienced it. I know a little bit more going into this second book. This time I'm going to try to go the traditional publishing route as opposed to the independent route. Last time I just wanted to get the book out there. I didn't send out any inquiries to. It's a tough world out there for writers, especially first time writers no one ever heard of. But this time where I've got kind of a track record, I think I'll
we just had on a couple hours ago a guy who does military genre books, kind of like the Jack Ryan sort of stuff, and he published independently his first two books, and then Penguin noticed, and Penguin or Simon Schuster noticed, and they came and offered him a deal, and now he's got multiple deals.
Great. That's the dream. Yeah. That's the dream of millions of authors out there. Someone told me that there's like 19 million books on Amazon.
It's like, and that's I think that's with AI. I mean, AI is making it worse.
That's not fair.
Yeah, it's not fair at all. And I think my understanding is Amazon's clamping down on the AI books. I can't remember the journalist gal's name, but she's I can't remember her name, but she's very popular and very smart. And she was coming out with a biography, and like all these, I don't know what you call them, AI hacker, pseudo dudes, whatever. I don't know what you call these people, but they had literally invented 8 different versions through AI of her biography that you could buy right away instead of the pending real one that was coming out from her.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, and I remember looking at it, I'm like, which book is yours? Because there's like all these biographies, and they're all landing at the same time with different covers. And it was just extraordinary. And they just had AI just punch it out like nothing. So I guess they're doing something about that.
I can't do that because I don't. AI is like Bitcoin to me. I don't understand it, so I can't use it. I can't do it.
I mean, it has some formats. Like I've actually written stuff and put it into ChatGPT and said, help me clean this up. Or, I remember having it do summaries and stuff or abouts for websites. And, so I'd write it up and then I give it to ChatGPT, and I don't like the way this sounds. For some reason, I just cannot get this to click right in my head. And then ChatGPT would kind of rejigger and reformat, the sentences like the spell checkers do now. And it would come up with something way better. And I'm like, yeah, I'm actually communicating effectively now.
Yeah, it's the idea of saying I need to have a man meets a woman to buy on a witty conversation, and and thrown it at AI and have AI do the heavy lifting. But something about that doesn't seem.
Yeah, I mean, it's great, telling where to put the commas, that sort of thing.
Commas are tricky. I never knew there were so many rules about commas.
Oh my God, I don't even know. I just kind of threw. I actually pay for, what is it that I pay for my online writing? I pay for Grammarly. I don't know why I'm being plugged in them for free, but I pay for Grammarly, and sometimes it'll tell you, hey, put the sentence over here and flip that. On your character in the book, do you anticipate maybe this becoming a series on this book?
No, the way the book goes, it really doesn't lead into a series, and
Hollywood can always fix that.
Well, I hope someone in Hollywood is listening to you.
Yeah.
That'd be great. The way the book was going, it was going to extend another 20, 30 years beyond where it ended.
Oh, really?
And I would have been an old man, and it would have been 800 pages. So I kind of truncated it. And I think it's more powerful this way instead of dragging it out a little longer over a whole nother generation. But the way that I ended it kind of precludes bringing some of these characters back. So the Irish thing is kind of a prequel. There'll actually be some characters in it at the end that are in the beginning of my book, including a police captain and his backstory on how he became a police captain and things like that. But it doesn't have any of the Italian characters in it.
Okay.
but the time frame is a prequel. It was the Irish moved out of the North End to Boston, and the Italians moved in, but kept the power. And because the big thing the Italians had going against them was the language, not speaking the language, and a lot of the Italians were stubborn. I don't know if you've noticed that about Italians, but we're pretty stubborn.
Yeah,
didn't go out of their way to try to learn the language, and they wanted to have their own. You've heard, it literally a little Italy.
Little Italy, yeah.
With their own families and friends and their own culture and their own Sunday dinners, but you can't really do that.
Yeah.
And to this day, now the North End has changed quite a bit. It's really been gentrified, and some of the old warehouses along the waterfront are now high-rise condos, and the population, I don't know what the percentage is of Italians now. It's probably about 30%, but most of the businesses are still owned by Italians in the North.
Oh, really? Wonderful story, and we'll look forward to the future works that you're doing. Give people a final pitch on where they can get to know you better on your website.
It's just louistrubiano.com, and there's more in there about one book than you'd ever want to know. But you can go to louistrubiano.com and read the reviews and get the plot summary and look at the awards. And hopefully it'll resonate, and I'll sell more books. Although selling the books is just the frosting on the cake, Chris. Writing the book was the great, and the experience that it's brought has been wonderful too.
Well, we'll look for more to come from you and all that good stuff.
Well, I write another one. I'll give you a call and try to get on here again.
Sounds good, Louis. Sounds good. Thank you very much for coming to the show, Louis. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Chris.
Thank you. And thanks, Ronitz, for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss. Pick up his book, What Once Was Promised, out May 6, 2024. You can find it wherever fine books are sold. Thanks for tuning in. Go to facebook.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss1 on the TikTokity, and all those crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time. And that should